everyone kind of gathers around. The Tambrin knocks on the back door, and then the door is opened, and from that back door from into like the kitchen area, reaches in and hands Ella 2 chairs as if like he had been asked to do so, and then he like disappears and comes back and hands like a little like attachment table to make the table bigger. The whole kitchen area at this point is pretty filled up as the table has grown.
As they eat, Rowan's gonna turn to his mom. I never thought we were gonna have a full house like this growing up. For the longest time, it was just me, you, and Pop.
We certainly weren't prepared for it. How could we be prepared for much of any of this? She kind of like looks down at a bracelet that she now wears, a signet of her royalty. It is this look of almost like reverence, but also like disdain almost too at the same time. Like it's a combination of both of those, like this sense of duty that she now has. It's like her past has caught up with her, and but also this sense of like something that she kind of always knew. Like it's like she was living a lie in a way, and like now has to do what must be done, kind of thing.
I'm gonna smile at her really big. I love you, Mom.
She jolts her head up to you, and then like kind of like pinches your cheek. I love you too, sweetie. And everybody may consume a few, a little bit into the meal. And by that, I mean just now putting food on your plates. Martison comes down. He's got, he's got a, very short, like sash wrapped around his like very tight, almost leggings that go just below the knee. This is very like silly like look, but even worse than that, he just has his shirt hanging over his shoulder, and his hair is like a little bit messy, and it's been a while since I've had a bath. This is wonderful.
Martison, did your pants shrink from the cold out here? They look a little tighter
Might
than
not be the only thing that shrunk.
Well, now, sweetie, you know that's not true.
How would she know?
Yeah, Marty, how would she know?
Well, once upon a time when we met him, he was completely naked, and let me tell you, his dick kind of looked like scrambled eggs. It was so small.
It wasn't that cold then, if I recall either.
No, but I was scared. I was nervous, and the same thing happens when you are scared as well. It is, blood has to go to the vital organs, and I was in fight or flight mode, and he's like saying this as he's just like, the shirt's still like thrown over his shoulder, and he's like over at the counter, like preparing himself a plate. And in fight or flight mode, I'm meeting a group of strangers. A group of strangers just did me in the way that they did. He just kind of goes on and.
So it's kind of like a turtle going into its shell.
It does no.
Asher's gonna look over to Coria and be like, "I'm assuming you've met Marty already."
I was gonna turn to Cole and be like, "Don't encourage him."
As you say that, Cole, like he stops what he's doing, like takes his shirt down and like has the plate down. A turtle in its shell. Yes, and he throws the shirt back over his shoulder. He slaps you on the shoulder. That is good. And you see he just immediately like redirected his train of thought.
Okay, so anyway, I'm going to get in touch with Kezrak really quick. So and I'm going to cast sending one more time at the dinner table, like mouth half full. Yeah, Kezrak, I'm going to need you to have like an early bedtime and let me do magic on you so you can talk to Karen. Okay? It's Briar.
How soon are we thinking for such a thing?
I'll spend the spell to send it again. Well, I mean, the elderly tend to go to sleep pretty early, so I mean, you tell me, like, how often do you usually go to sleep? How soon? Are you a night owl? Let me know, okay, bye.
I am
just
certainly
choose
quite a night owl. I only need but a few hours a night, but I can manage a longer session if so fit.
Okay, maybe send me or send Carol like a sweet dreams, and then we'll give you like a good hour in case your warm milk hasn't.
Are you sleeping?
Are you pooping?
You up text?
You up? That's literally.
This is your brain. Are you sleeping?
After some more time, about halfway through the meal, your guys, you hear a bit of the commotion going on outside, and it is Falzen and Thodrak. You hear Falzen and Thodrak kind of like Thodrak says something and you hear a groan from Falzen, and then you hear Thodrak kind of chuckle out loud to himself, just absolutely obnoxiously, but like more of just like a and then as he does that, he starts to open the door, and he opens the door and like peeks in and like looks at everybody. Falzen kind of like tugs on him, not with the boots. And then, no, it's all right. I'm not staying. I just wanted to. He just kind of awkwardly waves. Good to see you back, all of you. Glad you made it.
Good to see you, Thodrak. Critter.
As you say, Critter, like he looks around and then just and crawls right up onto his shoulder, and then he guffaws at that, and then, all right, good night to you. And falls in, kind of sighs and like does like just a handshake with him and sends him off. And then he does a big sigh as he walks on in. He at first, like, in typical Falzen fashion, it's just like as if like you guys hadn't been gone for like ever. He just kind of like nods and is like, yep, you're back.
Hey, Pop.
Hey, kiddo. How was it?
It was something.
Always something.
I saw a giant crystal being. We I'm gonna look to the table. We tamed the well, we didn't, but the mountains tamed, and we're good now. So,
You know something, I've had my fair share of stories, and well, hopefully you don't remember all of them that I told you when you were younger, but
Well, Ella got on to me a little bit, but you, my boy, he comes over and just like grabs you on the shoulder and shakes it a little bit. Your kiddos are gonna have some stories.
Oh yeah. They are. I'm gonna look to the party, every single one of them.
Those that can see Rowan, he can't, but like he shoots a look over at Evelyn and like just does like a wink kind of thing. That's just like it's not in a weird way, but just in like his manner of playful, which is just like, I don't know, just making her uncomfortable essentially, or whatever. But
And I was just gonna go back to eating.
and the rest of the night is yours for what you would like to do, unless you want to get to Caltrack.
Asher's gonna set Corey up a bath, and while she's getting ready for bed, he's gonna go outside and probably go find some work to do, maybe fix the steps or something. Just keep occupied while Corey is getting ready for bed.
Okay, just want to make sure you're done. Cool would actually approach Karon and Bree as they're probably leaving the dinner table. And if you guys have just a second, I noticed that you have the ability to send word to people in far distances, and I thought if at the end of the day you had any left, if I could use the ring to send word to my brothers, just to see how they're doing, would be...
Wait, how much is inside of it right now?
Nothing. We had the spiritual guardian and the cure wounds, so there's nothing in it right now.
Cool. Yeah, so I'm just gonna put ascending into his ring, so it's a level 3. I'll expend a higher level slot.
Sure.
Don't even mention it.
For shenanigan reasons, I'm going to put in
Something different.
catapult at level 2.
Okay.
Yeet.
I guess sending in something just gets yeeted.
For a second, no, I thought you were doing the angle of like, yeah, sure, here's ascending spell. He's gonna cast it thinking it's ascending and get something.
You know, maybe one day I will. Okay.
Thank you. And he'll just take that and go about his business. Probably find a quiet place to possibly do that. Figuring out which brother to probably send to. Which one he's more worried about.
I can always give you another. If once you're done with that one, I can't give you 2. They won't fit.
Before you and I do what we're going to do, Karon, I'm going to go talk to my girl real quick.
That's fine. I was going to try to send to Kalandra and touch base, see what's going on over there.
Okay. Whoever wants to go first, go ahead.
Oh, you can go. I want to hear about Kalandra.
I mean, it's not going to be a terribly long conversation, but I'll spend a spell, and Kalandra, it's Karan. We've just returned from a place so cold I hardly even thought a place like that existed in this planet, let alone Neswind. I hope all is well there. Interested to hear if there's anything more you've discovered. in your time with my people.
After relaying the message to Kalandra, Ran, it's so good to hear from you. It has gone well. I can go on about your people, but we have decided to return.
Will that be the last that she says?
Yep.
In response? Okay. I will spend another... Something going to bed soon anyways. Oh, wow. That, it seems sooner than I anticipated, but I guess a fair amount of time has passed. When will you depart? And of course, have a safe trip. I look forward to speaking with you in person again, when we can. What prompted your return?
I received a message from the Temple of Light. They need us to return.
That's it?
There's more. Sorry, hold on. I tried to convince some of your people to come, but I don't think they will. But as far as I know, I think our work is done here. We have taught much. They have taught much.
All right, I will spend my 5th level to respond once more. Well, I'm glad you feel it was fruitful. Again, have a safe trip, but I hope that we can speak again, perhaps at length, before you make your way back. You are aware of everything that's transpired in Kinghaven, I hope. Perhaps you'll understand some concern I have, if so.
Forgive that I didn't answer the first time. We are already on our way. I have only had the correspondence of the Temple of Light. I'm not sure what else you're referring to. Head Mother Catherine needs me back.
I'm going to spend the last slot that I've got. The Queen killed the King. Dominicus is dead. And the only person that is still within the church that I immediately trust is a man by the name of Jothrand. I pray, if you can, try speak with him before you return. Please.
I'm not familiar with him myself. all of that while I was gone. King? I believe when he first messaged me, he said his name was Jothrand, but he was speaking on behalf of Headmother Catherine. He said she requested.
I'm going to find Briar.
I'm sorry, did
after that.
did I not answer anything else? Let me know, because I might not have. Sometimes it's hard to pay attention.
No, I mean, you hit the main point. She is now definitely privy to what happened. She doesn't know explicitly that we were blamed, because I didn't elaborate that to her. She knows that we have one person that we trust that's still within the temple. That's Jothrand, whom has communicated to her directly. And he's the one who initiated her return. Whatever the head Mother Catherine part is, that's just the message that was relayed. So, I think, yeah, really, Karun might feel a little bit, but he's still a bit uneasy. And he would seek, because he's tapped. He can't do anymore, and my other ability only allows me to recharge level 1s, not level 2s, or level 3s. So, during this time...
Another thing that I meant to include is that she would have mentioned that she has no way to send herself. So she only had that message that was given to her. She could only reply to it. She doesn't have a way to send for herself.
Gotcha. What I would probably... Oh, no, that's going to be difficult to do. Because there's no familiarity that... what's his... Vildriel. Vildriel doesn't have any familiarity with Jothrand either. So that's one of the things he wants to see Bree about. So we can use that to transition over.
Hey, you.
Gonna come find you. Are you okay? Your uncle? I'm sorry, I asked if you were a tree. I didn't mean to. I was confused.
No,
That must have been hard. It looked hard.
I've had a long time to grieve. My uncle. It's just kind of bizarre. I knew him as a little sapling, and he doesn't remember me very much, but he sees the color of my eyes, so maybe, eyes are the window to the soul.
Who knows what might come? I know nothing about magic or trees, but maybe his past life will come back to him in bits.
Who knows? Perhaps as he grows, those who are around him I'm still but a stranger to him for the most part, I think. I don't even think if I told one of his famous jokes, he'd even really laugh all that much, so... I mean, sometimes you just got to let things grow on their own. But how are you doing? You kind of went through a lot there.
I thought if I knew what had happened, it would answer all of my questions and make me feel like I belonged somewhere. But I just have more. And I can't shake this feeling of guilt that I have. That it was somehow because of me that she had to sacrifice herself. And maybe that's conceited or something. But I don't know, I put two and two together. I was born, I couldn't stay up there. Me and my father went south. Perhaps she was punished. But I don't know if I'll ever know.
I don't think it's your fault at all. No. Survivor's guilt is a very difficult thing to live with. It will take time. You are not to blame for what happened to your mother. She wanted you to live. You were given every opportunity to make the most out of the life you were given. And you have. Look at what a beautiful person you are. You're clever. You're funny. You've made so many friends. You're so full of light.
You don't think you're nice.
I didn't mean to make you cry.
You didn't. It's a lot to process, but I'll be okay.
I think she'd be very proud of you. Look at how far you've come.
We'll see. I still have a lot that I want to do. A lot I want to do with all of you. I'm glad you're here. And I grab Bry's hand and pull her in and give her a kiss on the forehead and then a hug. I have to stand up on my tiptoes because we're the same height, so I have to like...
I'll angle down. Okay. The inside of the house is rather crowded. Why don't you go hunt down a nice little cozy place, and after I deal with Karen, you and I can have some alone time.
You got a deal. I give her one last squeeze on the hand and then walk away.
And I'll go inside the house and pitter pat my way to Karen. Hello, bestie. How you doing?
Well, to be honest, I've been a bit better, but I spoke with Kalundra. She's returning to the capital on summons. Jothrind sent a message saying that Headmother Catherine was requesting a return. Perhaps it's nothing, considering it is in fact Jothrind that had reached out, though I don't know. I guess I wasn't expecting her to return so soon, relatively speaking, in the length of the trip, but I just don't want her to get sucked into something that's related in any way, shape, or form to us. Perhaps we can try. Sorry.
There is a lot to consider. That beach could have. It's Jothrind We made the wrong call with him the first time. And we learned that he was actually someone we could trust because he worked in the shadows. However, the hey bitch has her way of corrupting people, no?
And despite what positives Jothrand has helped occur in our lives, we know that he has a goal. And I imagine, even if it is not something he cares to do, he will comply if it means that he is able to continue working towards his goal. So I don't know what to think of it. All I know is I would like to speak more at length, at least, with her. Perhaps if we are successful with Kazrak. They're already en route, but they shouldn't be returning before we can attempt.
What about Porvis? He's got his ear to the ground. He's got his whispers.
And that is true. We can send message to them, make sure that she's looked out for. I guess I feel the information that I delivered was less than ideal. One simple message was all that my telling her what the queen did to her husband, to her son-in-law, whatever, our friend. She wasn't aware of any of it, so I imagine there's questions racing through her head now.
So, if we play this right, what I'm about to cast on you, I don't want the others to really know about, because I would very much hate to feel like I'm the company telephone, you know?
Hey, can you do that thing? Hey, do that thing. Can you do that thing?
They would unintentionally take advantage of it, and I really don't want to grow to hate all of them. So, how about we start with Kazrak, and then I will do my best to save it for you, because I like the energy with you and Kalandra, so you can show her what happened. But for today, we do Kazrak.
Of course, his information is something we can't wait to receive.
Before we do this, do I need to send anything out to anybody? Because I have, like, not a lot, but enough for you.
You could try to communicate with Jothrand, at least to affirm the message that was sent to Kalandra, perhaps. Otherwise...
First, let's think about it like peeling an onion. Let's ask Porvis if he's heard of anyone being taken to the Red Room. Because if news has got out that Jothrand has, then we know he's probably compromised.
This is true. And hopefully it's something that Porvis would have been privy to. But we don't know exactly how clandestine the Queen and the Head Mother could be operating behind the scenes. But, again, there's no immediate danger that I can detect. I'm leery. If you want to communicate with those two, then all right, but perhaps just focusing on Kazrak after that, and we'll deal with what comes the next day.
Okay. Agreed. And then I'll send a message to Porvis. Purvis. We are safe. We have a friend, Kalandra, being recalled to the Temple of Light. Have you heard Jothrin being taken to Red Room?
It's good to hear from you. I'll be honest, a lot of my eyes and ears have been a certain degree of kneecapped with the way the city's being held right now. I don't know anything about Jothrend. The unrest in the city is certainly obvious.
He doesn't know anything about Jothrend. I have, again, I can reach out to people, and doing the method I'm going to do, I have a list of people. I want to reach out to Young Kalandra, Kazrak. Eventually, and she looks around. Eventually, I'll reach out to Claire. And most favorite, I will eventually try to talk to the Queen herself. So, for tonight, let's go ahead and get you nice and comfy, cozy. It's spell time.
I'm intrigued. I'm really curious as to how this will pan out.
Oh, me too, my friend, me too. You will be able to... You cannot make it spooky because there's different rules. It's only a nice dream. Okay? So you can show them all sorts of things. You don't even have to look like yourself. If you wanted to look like someone else, you could. You could be like, oh, hello. But it's Kazrak, who cares?
That would detract from the point.
Right. It's basically, you're going to be a dream weaver. And she gets you laid down, and she takes out some pocket sand, puts it on your chest.
Throws it in your eyes immediately. Sandman, bitch.
Takes some ink from her pen and puts it on your lip, and then pops a feather in your hair and puts her hand around your face. Says, Feroth din andune, and leaves you to fall asleep as you fall into a dream for the next 8 hours.
You drift into the dream realm. It is at first disorienting. At first, it has this... almost in the same way that you have entered people's minds in the past, it's very reminiscent of when you were going through and went far back into Dom's subconscious, all the way to his birthing. That same like surreal feeling and that intensity of it, but you feel none of the pressure and none of that harm. You feel actually very almost euphoric. You're getting REM cycles right now, so but you don't have that same like hurt and pressure that you had when you went that far into Dom's memory. into his subconscious. So how exactly does this spell work?
So he'll be able to shape this person's dreams. Kazrak is known to us, and I gave him a heads up, so if he's willing, the messenger will appear in his sleep and will be able to sculpt the dream, creating landscapes, objects, and other images. They can talk, and the target will recall the dream perfectly upon waking. Let's see, nightmares work different, so we're not going to get into that realm quite
Okay,
yet.
Okay, so yeah, so you're choosing Karan to be the one to go into the dream state,
Yes.
with the target being Kazrak. Cool.
Yes.
That's
So I'd be the crafter, and he would just be he's just going to be into the dream, and it'll be our little hub conversation. So
cool. Entering into this dream state, you initially find it to be a conglomeration of your own thoughts and your own kind of dream state essences. It takes you through the Amarand. It takes you through the journey that you took from the Moonlake Well, and you feel this like peace, as if you hear the music of harps and other sounds of the familiar instrumentation of the Moonlake Well. That's just a procession at all times in that place, and you get this sigh in your heart at first where it feels reminiscent, like, oh wow, it's been a while. Like, it's been a while since you've been there. It's been a while. And you dwell in that for a moment. It's almost as peaceful as the actual presence of being there. And it fades and it shifts around you, not in a violent way, but in a kind of soft, changing of the scenes as it's reshaped around you, as if clay. And up around you, a bookshelf emerges, and then around you a pillar erupts from the ground, but where it feels like it should be rumbling and shaking the earth, it's as if it's just clipping. It's like just not actually going through.
Comes up from
like
nothing.
Actually going, yeah, just like as if there is nothing there, and it's a very odd sensation. You feel like even as you're walking, like it's like your animation is out of sync. Like, I don't know how else to describe it, but like, yeah, you've entered the Matrix, basically. But it's like you don't feel things, but then your mind feels them for you. Like, it has to, like, there's like a connection between when you have to feel it, or like, okay, I touched this and there should be an immediate response. It's like your brain has to formulate, what does that feel like? Why does it feel that way? And like it has to like calculate
little buffering screen.
Yeah, there's like a buffering for each thing, that's everything that's happening. It's just a very strange feeling. But as these things pop up around you, it becomes this hall, a massive hall, as if like a schoolyard. And then suddenly it's populated with these formless voids that out of your peripheral vision just seem to be students that are just going to and from class, and you now see it as some form of Ista, but almost a earlier version, or like a different Ista. The ISTA, for those who don't know, is the Institute for Science, Technology, and Arcana.
It's a very prestigious university.
Yes. And you see the different figures making their way from to and fro within the halls of this. One side is littered with bookshelves, and then suddenly those bookshelves just disappear into the wall or into their respective rooms. And then on the right, where these pillars have propped up and come through the ground, you see there's a whole courtyard that is forming in more of those kind of formless voids. Like it's again another very strange perception trick where that peripheral vision is like, oh yeah, that's a group of students, and then you look and then you're like, there's no features, there's nothing there. So it's just like that AI generated, like kind of thing where it's like, yeah, I recognize that. Until it flattens and becomes this kind of white, almost nothing. And around you, you hear the sound of the wooden sandals on what sounds like a tile floor. The familiar clop clop of our friend Kozrak.
Karan.
Kozrak, it's good to see you, even if we're not technically in the presence of each other.
I have to say, I know a good many spells, but this is something I've never experienced. It's quite surreal. It's just wonderful. It could prove very handy. Briar's work.
Indeed, we're one and the same at that.
Tell
Truly
her,
fascinating.
well done when you return. This is magnificent, marvelous, brilliant.
I'll be sure to give her every consideration. She deserves it. Especially if we can get to the nature of our conversation. This might be more than just this one incident. And if it works as well as it appears to be, this could be a force multiplier when it comes to happenings beyond our most immediate locale.
Yes, there's lots to catch up on. As soon as I caught wind of what was going on within the castle, I fled. I used everything I could muster to teleport away. It was a long shot. They were coming for me as well. I sealed myself away in my study, and I used my teleportation circle. The only other connection I had to pray was somehow still active, and thus I am now in Zehath. My old teleportation circle had not been destroyed. I was able to activate what was left of it, and Morakir, that old fool. There's more on him. As soon as I got over here, I was let in on the travesties befalling Zehath itself.
We've only been able to gather what we could scry and see of our own accord. There hasn't really been much as far as what's transpiring across the way since you've had to fled, but I'm glad that you were able to find Bastion there. However harrowing getting there was in the first place, and the situation there, how dire is it?
It is quite dire. I will do what I can, but this entire countryside is scarred permanently, and from what has been reported to me, well, I first got there and spoke with my old friend, the Queen. It is true what we had expected. Fortunately, she has been able to maintain a certain degree of clandestine in what she has done. There are those that oppose her, of course. Morakir being one. She told me that she sent a group to go after him. How successful they could be in such an endeavor, I don't know. It has been some time, and well, it still feels bleak. I am not sure that they survived their hunt. Morakir is a very powerful wizard. He studied and taught once alongside me. He was very young then. In this very place,
he rises back everything that was the bookshelves, the study, the hall. What you realize now, having been Zahath, is why it just felt just a little off from the Ista that you were familiar with. In fact, not even an Ista. They probably called it their own thing, but it is a
Zahath State Technical School.
It is Zahath State. Zahath State, bro!
I heard the rivalry between those two schools is fucking legendary, though.
Zahath State rules!
If you say a wizard capable of teaching alongside you, and even at that, younger, no offense, what could possibly be so devastatingly powerful that you legitimately think they may not have survived their hunt? I feel there's a lot that we can talk about.
Like myself, we are students of Arcana, and his machinations and pursuits took him down a darker route, particularly when I was replaced for all that I had done for, well, the two countries, and when I fled to come to Esmond and serve there, he quickly took over from there, and it was, from what I've understood, downhill from there. It gave him the wheels to carry his mission forward. He got into dark magics and necromancy and has amassed armies of the undead. Those reports are true. They, I imagine by this point, are innumerable.
Legions of undead.
and massacres of their own people. At first it started as those who would not join the war efforts, and well, it was a good way to draft soldiers one way or the other. But now it is indiscriminate. They, from the reports of those who have managed to escape and survive, march right in and begin slaughtering.
Those visions, what they were referring to, it's just a glimpse of the horror that I'm assuming thousands or tens of thousands have experienced. What can Zayath do to stop this? How bleak is the situation there, Kazrak? When does Eswind have to worry if they are undead? I feel that they will just wander until there is nothing left for them to consume.
I would estimate that scourge has already made it onto Eswind soil. I am not privy to all of my normal connections with... I feel so cut at the knee. If you get any word of the state of things, well, this is handy, but a simple message would do as well. If you would like for me to check in, I can from time to time.
Please. All the information is the most important commodity that we'll need in our situation. There's others too, I'm sure you would suspect if we're not aware. But this is so grave, and the fact that we might already be, suffice to say, infected from what's spreading the other continent. A direct line to you, knowing your state, can only help us or others to prevent this. I feel like we need to disseminate this information, that much at least. Zutha?
It would be a good bet. He would probably be the first in its path and one of the first cities to catch wind of it if what we suspect is true.
With his line, as far as intelligence and observation goes, not only would he be able to disseminate the information as efficiently and effectively as possible, were he to fall, that would be a massive blow. Though I guess, in turn, it would hamper the Queen's machinations a bit, but I think it'd be far worse if we were to lose him and his city.
I am sure the Queen, Belabeth, to be clear, I am sure that she will use this as a way to rally war efforts, not knowing that the citizens of Zayath are victims just as much as our own at Eswind.
Agreed. It'd be merely the presentation of a necromancer waging war against Eswind. That's enough to be said. Though, I do also wonder what the people might do to hear of something so profoundly expansive as a horde of undead surging over from Zayath. War effort or not, we might just find rampant terror and panic, especially in the border outlying regions. Regardless, this does not bode well for the immediate future. And I believe, and probably why you're approaching, is that this takes a precedence. We can do everything we want to stop the Queen here, but if there is no continent to save, what good would it be?
There are still many that seek to ally with Elspeth. The Parthens are the biggest enemy. Those are Morkir's own people. But if enough can hear this, the tragedies that are befalling the country and feel it firsthand, maybe they will hear sense, or maybe there is still hope yet for those brave few that Queen Elspeth has sent out to hunt Morkir.
Well, you currently being in closest proximity, you would know, and I would adhere to whatever you recommend is best for our first course of action in addressing this. We have other issues. I have people I'm concerned about personally, others that others are concerned about. Where do you think we should start?
Part of what I wanted to reach out. There are some developments that I have become privy to, at least on the Zehath front. Queen Belibeth has enemies of her own, and from what I know, she has stepped up her treachery even more beyond what we had imagined.
So, we've heard very little directly, but I can only imagine from what we've been told. What have you heard?
She has been utilizing some form of mind control to, I suppose, amass her own army of undead in a way. She has utilized her father's techniques in Trevane and assigned him her head chancellor, and now they have almost full power themselves. We may yet still be able to rally the other lords. The main development is for those that are on the borders and those that are fighting this senseless war against a Zehath that doesn't even want a war themselves, at least most, to direct their attentions towards their corruption within their own country. We need to rally and retake Kinghaven. The sooner, the better. The more an infestation is left to linger, the more havoc it causes. They are attempting to place their roots dark and deep as they may be, we need to cut them off before they can seep into the soil.
Root and stem. So we have 2 fronts. We need to reach Sutha. He is the closest, he is the one that is capable, most capable, of communicating with the others, and he approached our party positively. The Red Chambers, being utilized to amass an army, and her father's appointment are not particularly surprising. However cruel and unfortunate they are, that is something that, in the back of my mind, and I'm assuming the rest have been suspecting as a potential. But we need to address both simultaneously, you're right. It's not just the infestation that's coming over from Zehath that you're struggling to put down, or better put, contain. But we have our own evil infection here, and that needs to be rectified. Fortunately, we have the north of Eswind, under whatever banner will stand. Another interesting development, it appears that Dominicus was not the only in our party of royal heritage. Upon our arrival, we discovered that our friend Rowan and his mother are of the Tailmean bloodline, their royal bloodline. And after Rowan dutifully, rightfully, however you want to put it, quite definitively defeated a usurper, the Tailmean kingdom, I say we can count as an ally amongst ourselves. So, to that end, we have more allies than we may have started when we separated back in Kinghaven. But we still need more. If we are going to put down what she is trying to build, we're going to need more than the unified kingdoms of man. We need the unified continent of Eswind.
At all worth their merit of the tales of old. It's been a millennia since the Sun Elves have had an army, and that is both exciting and concerning.
Well, perhaps we can frame it as it's not be an army of the Tailmean, or an army of the North, an army of man. Perhaps it is the armies of Eswind. Maybe this is the juncture that we need to step to unification that, to my knowledge, hasn't really properly ever been seen in our histories. But perhaps that unity is the only way that we can truly save ourselves.
There are certainly many forces at work, and players in the game at this time. I have much to do. Stay in touch. If there are any developments over here, I will contact you. When the time comes, I will return. And I will bring all the help I can. It will be a great war.
It truly will be one for the history books. I can only imagine what those in the future, provided we secure a future, might think when they read back on it. You do the same. Anything immediate, please send message. Can we anticipate speaking like this within the next fortnight?
Absolutely.
Make sure. It was good to see you. As well as you can be, at least. I'm glad that you were safe. I'll be sure to get this to everyone else, of course. And I'll push for our next destination to be Sirach and Zutha.
Well, enjoy the rest of your night.
I hope that you rest well. I know I shall. This has been interesting. I've never properly slept for a full night's rest before. I hope you just feel rested when you wake as well.
I haven't slept in, well, not proper sleep. I haven't had dreams in so long. It is peaceful, but it is not real. One could fathom staying here for too long and escaping the reality of the real world.
I'm grateful that there is, even if it is subtle, the slightest delay in recognition of what's here. I'll touch one of, I don't know, whatever, a bench or something like that, a bookshelf. Were the sensation to occur any sooner, I feel that pulling oneself away might be nigh impossible, depending on your emotional state. But at least you've dreamed something different that has happened in a while for you. If it was particularly exhaustive, though, let me know via sending. Maybe we'll reconsider speaking like this next time.
No, not exhaustive, just reminiscent. Well, may we work in effort to make the real world as peaceful as one such as this.
Yes. I would like to gaze upon the surfacing pools once more, without having to worry about what might be happening in the world at large in the back of my mind. Take care, Gazrak.
You as well, Karan. Again, tell Brian, wonderful work.
I shall, though I'm sure she already knows it.
We cut to Asher winding down his night with Coria, and they just for the night catch up quickly on the small talk. Asher wants to go into more length of a conversation, but decides to just enjoy a night. And they comfort each other within each other's embrace. As Asher thinks on all of it and slowly drifts from his own material world to the dream world. And once again, that familiar sense of, now familiar but still ever strange, being teleported across a continent, finds himself within that now familiar body of that wolf dog, marching alongside a party. From what you remember, that large entourage of individuals fleeing with whatever they could, to some hope that it will be better in Eswind. You see now that this group of refugees is lesser than it has been, and they are more road weary and more downtrodden and beaten and concerned. Even yourself kind of look at a cut you have on your side, kind of your back hip that sits there. That original owner that you had that was walking alongside you, nowhere in sight at this point, but in this sense, drifting between your own consciousness and the consciousness of this dog. What this dog, wolf dog, knows is that it has a new companion that it follows along as they march towards Eswind. This new companion stops and turns back and kind of motions one along as they begin to pick up pace.
They're gaining on us.
Turns to another one and kind of motions to them and mentions, or gets their attention, and this kind of look of agreeance that they have that, like, we're not going to be able to survive another one of these. And this sense of, like, unspoken conversation that they have as, like, putting it together, you realize, like, they've had a few people that would stay back every now and then to hold them off to buy the larger group some time.
We'll do another draw. Unless anyone is willing to volunteer, we'll do another draw.
You see as he looks out among the fog, you see in the distance what you now recognize is the kind of fade from the Black Bridge to Eswind itself. He turns and looks out towards that fog from which they came, and you see just faintly far off in the distance a massive horde that limbers at a decent pace, almost inhuman. Just instinctively, the wolf dog kind of bows their head and sniffs and looks out that way and kind of like gleans through that fog, that mass that approaches, and kind of growls a little bit. And the man turns and starts to walk towards Eswind itself. and you hear off in the distance the sound of trumpets blaring. Those trumpets of war that blast. The wolf dog's ears perk up, begins to march out that way, and you see what's left of this caravan of individuals carrying whatever they can and their ragtag. From the fog, certainly would look like an army itself approaching. It would take some time to get closer, to recognize that they're just farmers. But to those stationed on the Eswind front, marching towards Zahath, another army that is in its own way under the control of a different ruler, a different kind of coercion. This army, the Eswind army, just the plain soldiers, those that have bought into the propaganda, whether they're the ones of what you know to be the mind-controlled ones. You're unsure if it is that form of mind control or that of just the propaganda that's played out, that they must protect Eswind and fight to serve and protect their own land as two unknowns approach. They blare their horns. The man walks up towards a woman who's in kind of a simple cloak, and he just wraps his arm around her and gives her kind of a squeeze. The dog, wolf dog in your form, you scurry up over to them and kind of pant to them, kind of unsure of what exactly their concern is, and then you hear the man say, as he bows his head,
"Gods, may they show us mercy, or at the very least, our souls."
Calls out a few names, tosses some swords to a ragtag group of individuals. Declares that we need to protect ourselves, but show that we are not a threat to Eswind. As the horde behind them approaches, they sturdy themselves as they slowly make pace, apprehensive to the Eswind front and how they will respond, waiting for a volley of arrows to just wipe them all out at this moment. He calls for a young rider, sends him a message to ride over to the Eswind front, and gives him a list of requests and essentially to say that they mean no harm and that they are refugees, and sends that young rider off. They slowly make their way towards that Eswind front, but the restless army behind them continues on at a pace of its own, shambles toward them, gains ground. To each of those he tossed swords to and different weapons. They huddle around the caravan. And it is from there we will pick up our next session. Let me go ahead and tell you and warn you. So now you can have some preparation. I will be throwing a random character at you, and you will play them. And by random, I mean you're going to come up with it. Yeah, next session, just for a little section. Asher,
Like
you get to be the wolf dog, but everybody else is going to be a random character. So now you get a chance to think about it. I was going to throw it at you and just make you do it, but we don't have time. The session is over, so you're lucky. I would have had you if it wasn't for the end of the session. And
stupid lore drops.
So we'll just pick up from there, where you guys get to play just a short stint for a short portion of this. We get a taste of what's going on elsewhere in the world. You don't have to develop any kind of backstory or anything like this. Again, I was gonna just make you improv it because I trust you guys. You guys would have handled that just fine, wouldn't you?
The statement should be read as, don't get attached to these characters.
No, that's not necessarily. So actually how you guys play this determines things. So it determines things. So there is no definite outcome for this. I want to see what you guys do, to be honest. So I'm excited for that. That's why it's not filler. It is a very complicated roll of the die, very elaborate roll of the die to tell the story, and what is happening to these people that we've kind of known about them for a while now. It's been a while since we've caught up with them and seen what's going on. Yeah, this was when you guys first got to Kinghaven that he first started getting those streams. So they've made it across. They make their way across the Black Bridge. So yeah, I'll throw some monster cards at you. And that will be the character essentially that you play. They'll just be simple. Don't go too crazy.
No task takers.
It's essentially a different kind of task taker situation.
Character grew up on a farm and he did this when he was 8, and now he's dead.
And now they're in the Suicide Squad.
So let me say, Atlas Forge, thank you. Yes. Veronica, thanks for resubscribing. Bandana Panda, thank you for following. Matt E. Ice, thank you for following. Scoomy, thank you for following. ADM JR, there was no dice rolled yet, but we will make note that he does have that. Otherwise, if you would like, before this session ends, and if you're still in chat, if you want that refunded, maybe we can do that too. But if like, oh, I might not see it next week, totally an option as well. But yeah, everybody, next session, don't forget, we do have channel points. We didn't even really mention it. We have channel point options now that can help the players. They are fate points. Yeah. And there's more. Lord Verge, thank you for following. And hey Barry, thank you. Thanks, buddy. Thanks for the 200 bits. Stick around. Do all the things. Exclamation point candles, exclamation point minis, exclamation point IRL, exclamation point Discord. Do all of them. It's gonna not work. And stick around, we'll show somebody some love with a raid. We're gonna just do the old intro, I guess. Oh wait, I think we're just gonna play the Zahath intro. Hey, you know what? It's a transition. It's a promo for the Zahath campaign. I was intending to have it. I'm gonna play the silly one. Goodbye.